Welcome to Northernlights. I'm Dwain.
And Mark,
And today we're going to do our UFC 276 recap. So yeah, it was an exciting card. There's some highs and lows, but starting one of the lows, it was really sad to see Cowboy today. He went up against Jim Miller and lost via submission. And then afterwards he retired, which is just really, really sad to see.
yeah, it was well, they're both veterans of the UFC in general anyway. Like Jim Miller, I'm pretty sure he's fought at UFC 100, 200, and he says he wants to go to 300 as well. So like they're both veterans, but Cowboy's a fan favorite though, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
It was just tough to see, and exactly what you were saying. Then there were some highs and lows from the very early prelims. This fight card was stacked.
Yeah.
You know, you had finish after finish sort of thing, and it was exciting. You got to the Cowboy fight, and obviously when the camera turned around and you see him taking his gloves off and he puts his cowboy hat down, you're like, and in his interview after, you know, he said that he wished he'd have done it a little bit sooner. But I mean, there isn't anyone who's complaining about Cowboy, is there? There's no one that's, you know, everyone agrees, you know, he's a future Hall of Famer. Wish him all the best, you know. It's sad to see him go, but I mean, he hasn't been there for a good few fights now, has he? To be fair, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. But talking of the lows, let's go into the main event. Not the main event, the main card. And we had Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Munhoz. It started off a little bit slow the first round. Pedro just throwing out a few leg kicks. He probably won the first round, but I don't know. It feels like they were just feeling each other out.
It was a strange one, that, like, because I watched his post-fight interview, Sean, and he was saying I dominated him, and you know, I didn't get hit once. Every single one of them leg kicks I checked, all this kind of stuff. I don't know if he just kind of like he's in some sort of warp where he believes that he's absolutely untouchable. I mean, you know, it is what it is. It was a very lackluster finish. It ended with an eye poke that, you know, Pedro couldn't continue in the second round. We did a poll earlier this week, Dwayne, and there was 82% of people thought Sean O'Malley would win.
Yeah.
That wasn't like via whichever way. That was just win in general.
Yeah,
82%. I mean, but no one predicted this. You know,
no, definitely not.
You can't predict these things.
Yeah, and it's a shame it went down like that because I was really excited to see what level Sean was really at. Yeah, he definitely didn't check those kicks, but I think he's playing that gimmick, isn't he? Of just like, I feel like it's more of an act than it's really, you know, or I'm the best, that kind of thing. I think he knows he winds people up, you know, like on Twitter. What did he say? He said, I'm the only person to finish Pedro Munhoz and stuff like that. So, you know,
stuff like that. It was I don't know. It was just in his interviews as well. Like he's saying he's looking for a way out, etc., and all that. Lackluster finish. Like you said, we were a little bit gutted because we wanted to see that fight entirely. Everyone did. But who knows, maybe before the end of the year, we'll get to see Sean O'Malley again. And if it is true, what he was saying, that he didn't get touched once, maybe he will come back this year to have a second fight in 2022.
Hopefully. Well, and then we've got Alex Pereira and Sean Strickland, which I did not expect to play out the way it did. Sean Strickland did next to nothing. He sort of just stood in a square stance, walking forward, and got caught and dropped with an amazing left hook from Pereira, which is kind of a signature move of Pereira's, if sort of what I've seen in of his kickboxing days and stuff like that. He seems to throw that out quite a lot. And it was very daft of Strickland because I thought his path to victory was shooting and keeping up in the clinch. That was his path to victory, and he didn't do that at all.
Well, this is the thing of what, you know, we were speaking about in the live stream and, you know, in the build-up this week as well. Like, Alex, does he deserve it? Probably not. But whether he deserved it or not, he's come out there and he's got the job done. He's finished the number 4 ranked guy in the first round. You know, so Alex, like, as in, whether he deserves it or not, he can do it. He can back all this like hype up. And in the poll earlier this week, 64% of people thought Alex Pereira was going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously these polls are just a bit of fun sort of thing, and just to reflect on afterwards, and, you know, in the build up to the fight.
Yeah, but it's good to see what people thought, isn't it?
You're right. That was just a great left hand, and then he followed it up after. And Sean was getting up and protesting it, but he wasn't with it. He was out.
No, he knew that was
gone.
it. It'd be interesting.
Maybe we'll get to see him in Israel further down the line.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to see. I'm looking forward to that. I'm a bit worried for Izzy after actually seeing it.
Yeah.
But actually, I did miss out a fight. We had Robbie Lawler versus Brian Barberena. Barberena? I don't know how you say his name. Barberena. And only 20% of people thought in our poll that Brian would beat Robbie Lawler. And that was a really, really good fight, actually. Good back and forth over 2 rounds. I felt like it was going either way. Both fighters really felt in it throughout. Brian was much more active, but Robbie had a lot of cage control and was very, very active.
Heavier strikes as well, wasn't he? Like Brian seemed to be more volume strikes, and Robbie, he was just waiting for them big shots, because we thought that he'd broke Brian's nose at one stage, and then obviously Brian was persistent, stuck with it, ended up finishing Robbie. And I had no qualms with that finish either. I love Robbie, and I'm not one of them. I'd like to think that I'm not one of them where I just jump on anything that I don't agree with or that I didn't want to happen. I'd like to believe that was 100% right, the right call. You know, Robbie wasn't with it anymore. Sad to see. So. And I was almost expecting to see Robbie after that performance to hang his gloves up as well. And then we would have seen 3 retirements in one night: Jessica Eye, Cowboy Cerrone, and Robbie Lawler. But it didn't happen. I think Robbie just still loves it.
Yeah, so I think he's still part of it, isn't he? He really seems to enjoy it. And yeah, I agree. I'm not upset with that stoppage at all. Robbie just had his hands down and was just getting whacked. So you think, well, that's fair enough. Yeah. But talking of stoppages and someone not being able to stop, is we had Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway, who both just seem invincible. That was the fight of the night for me by a mile off. I loved every second of it.
Well, there was again in the polls this week, only 38% of people thought Volk could get it done, or get the win anyway, not just get the finish. But I mean, obviously it was another decision, but this time it was a clear-cut decision. There's no argument. Like I'm glad that it was that decisive, because now we're not going to get this continuous chat of, well, Max won this too. Max could have done this. He could have done that.
It's 3-0 now to 3-0 to Volk, isn't it? And that's the thing. He absolutely dominated that match throughout. He seemed to almost predict what Max was going to do before he did it. You know, like every time he threw a head kick, his hands was there, ready to stop it, ready to catch it out. You think, what's going on here? He looked basically untouched. There wasn't a mark on him. But that can't be said for Max, though. He had a big split all down his eye, covered in blood. It was just dripping out.
At the end of the 5th, he looked like Mason Verger from Hannibal. But Volk was just like exactly like you said. We were saying when we were doing the live stream, every time there was a head kick, Volk's hand was up. He just caught everything, and it just seemed to go his way. You couldn't have, if you was Volk and his team, you couldn't have wished for a better fight than that, to be honest. And because Max is a zombie, he just keeps coming forward and forward and forward. And Volk just got it done, and now I'm excited to see if he does actually move up to lightweight. I'd be so invested in that. It's about time, Dwayne. We've said this after the recap of him and the Korean zombie fight. It's about time that Volk enters the conversation to be one of the best featherweights of all time. Yeah, it could even be argued, and he should be around about maybe number 1 or 2 of the pound for pound best in the UFC currently right now.
I agree. He's shown how ridiculously talented he is and how much he can improve after every single fight. He actually seemed to take less damage in this fight than he did against Korean Zombie. You think, how can he improve more and more and more? But talking of moving on, we'll get on to the next fight. We had Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier, which, to be honest, was a real snooze fest for me. I was struggling to stay awake watching this fight. And it's such a shame because Izzy is such a talented fighter, but sometimes he really puts on some boring, lackluster fights. And, a lot of people say, oh, well, he's the champ. They should bring it to him. No, you're the champ, Izzy. You should be putting it on people. You're what people are paying for. You've got to put it on. Though he did have an amazing entrance, which was really, really exciting when he came out.
Yeah, it was real cool. And, obviously Vince McMahon, Triple H and Stephanie was in the crowd, and Israel comes out with the Undertaker music. He had the hat, he had the urn. What I didn't notice, actually, that the urn had Jared wrote on it.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. If you zoom into it, it had Jared. But there was, in the post fight, interviews, Izzy was saying, you know, I had an off night, and his trainers and coaches said, yeah, you had an off night, and he's making the point of even on an off night, it's still the champion, which you get, and like we've said a million times, you know, it reminds you how real it is, because not every fight is going to be an absolute 5-star.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Still, it's just you're entitled as a fan. I think you're entitled to have a bit of a whinge, like just comment that, you know, it's a bit of a boring fight.
And especially when he's done it a couple of times now, you know, he's put on some real lackluster bouts. So you just think, come on, you know, you can't build a career off being inactive and just standing still. Like, look what happened to Rose, you know. I feel like, yes, it was clear that Izzy won that, but I feel like he was very, very lucky in some places, you know, because like in that third round, Cannonier really found some success. And if he'd have kept that up, you know, he could have taken the title away just from Izzy just being so inactive. You just think you've got to apply more pressure. You have to do more. I think one of the judges is crazy, though, calling it 50-45. I was like, come on, he joking. Cannonier won at least one round there.
Yeah, I thought it was 4-1 to Izzy. Maybe, you know, at least give him that third round, Cannonier. But however we score it, doesn't really matter. It's a win for Israel. And like I said, the only other losers, I guess, is someone who stayed up for it, you know.
Yeah, me.
I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't. Like I say, you can't win them all. But that overall, really good card from start to finish. Well, from start until the co-main event. But I think that's all we've got time for. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps us out.